I chose to teach this lesson because it incorporates our Wonders curriculum, which is our state mandated curriculum that the state wants us to teach, and kind of my spin on it and how I make that work in my classroom. So they'll be in reading groups, so they're grouped homogeneously, which means they're with like reading groups. So I do a running record with them, find out their reading level, and then they're grouped there. So then when they get to me and work with me, I can work more at their individualized level. So there's a lot of learning outcomes because they're all in different centers and they're all going to be doing different things. We're working on our reading strategy as visualization. So we tell them, making a picture in their mind while they're reading. Are they able to visualize the parts of the story that's not happening? We're also working on retelling. So retelling the beginning, what happens in the beginning, the middle, and the end. So they'll be working on those skills with me. Then when they are working in the various groups, they'll be working on writing. So they're doing a lot of stretching and working on spelling. Then they'll be working on sight words. So they'll be kind of a different way. They'll be using their hands to roll Play-Doh and make out the sight words so they can get that kinesthetic movement of how to spell the sight words. They'll be working on sight words, some sight words assessments with one of the part-time teachers. So we check in with them about once a week to assess them on what sight words and letter sounds they already know. And then one group will be on the iPads, so incorporating technology, they're listening to reading. So again, practicing those comprehension skills of listening to the story and then retelling and visualizing. And then another group will be reading to self. So they're reading books that were picked, 3 books that were picked by me at their reading level and 3 books that they chose. So their interest in what they like, and they're just practicing reading skills. So we say, how does a basketball player get better? They practice. So we want to be better readers and writers, so we have to have time to practice, and this is our time to practice. So they're practicing what they've learned in the whole group. So what I've taught them in the whole group, now they have time to go back and practice. So that's when they meet with me with small group. So I'm checking if they're understanding what was learned in the whole group to see if they need it to be retaught. We're constantly assessing them, so I know where they're at. I know the ones that aren't quite getting it, so I can reteach them. And also when we're in small groups, I can listen to them individually as they're answering questions or reading. So it's very easy for me to know exactly where their level is at and assess whether I need to teach it to them again or take that next step. Are they ready to move on to the higher level book? Are we ready to do some writing or some vocabulary work because they're already understanding the concepts? So we do a lot of that in the beginning of the year. The expectations, what does it look like when you're reading to self? What does a transition look like? At this point in the year, they've pretty much got it. We talk a lot about being self-directed and being responsible. Responsible means you do what you're supposed to be doing. If you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, your clip will move down. So that's our behavior management chart. They move their clip down. A lot of the times I like them to redirect their own behaviors. So if you see a friend doing the wrong thing, tell that friend, hey, can you please stop doing that? So that's being community contributor, using their social skills. So the expectations for them are set very high. They need to work, and if they're not working, their clip will move down. And a lot of that is just enforced through positive reinforcement. Oh, I see you're doing that, move your clip up. We talk a lot about you cannot disrupt me when I'm working with my group. And we talk about everybody has a job to do right now. What's your job to do right now? My job is to help my friends that I'm working with at my table. So you need to be self-directed and solve your problem on your own. So we have a backup plan on the computers. So instead of them saying, Ms. Knox, the computer doesn't work, it's broken, I can't fix it, they know, okay, I'm going to go do the backup plan. I'm going to get out my journal and write in my journal. So that helps me that I only have 10 minutes and I need to get as much done as I can in 10 minutes. So they do the backup plan. They know that I have a job to do, or a lot of times they'll come ask me and say, I'm sorry, I can't help you, I have a job to do. And so they know that what I'm doing is important and that what they're doing is important. So I tell them, what were you able to picture in your mind? What were you able to visualize? Can you read the story? What happened in the beginning? What happened in the end? What was the story about? So it's a lot of it is comprehension. So can they read it and can they repeat back what was in the story? So questions like that. Is it fiction or nonfiction? And then a lot of times I'll try to ask, how do you know? So if the story is fiction, how do you know it's fiction? Oh, and so they're able to give a reason why they answered that question. Well, how do you know that happened in the beginning? And then they can go back and find text evidence and point to the picture that is in the beginning of the story. I think it's engaging because it's a short amount of time. It's about 10 minutes that they're at each, I call it their job, so at each job. So it's something that's short and that they like to do. So they like to come work with me, and then they're getting their hands moving with the Play-Doh, and then they're reading, and then they're using the technology. So it's kind of different, those different, what do you call them, different learning types, learning styles are being addressed, and so they're not just sitting and listening the whole time. They have to be quiet and sit and read by themselves, and then they can work together with their friends and play with the Play-Doh, and then they can listen, and then they work with the teacher. So it's engaging them by the different ways the content is delivered. So again, it's that we're practicing reading. We talk about we want to be better readers and writers, so this is our time to practice. When they meet with me in my small group, so they're in groups about 3, 4, or 5. When they meet with me, it's very relevant to their specific skill needs, so what they need to work on. I'll be either reteaching, building upon it, getting that enrichment, that second step for those higher kids, or taking a step back and really getting those phonics or letter sound skills. So it's very relevant to their needs and what they need to work on in that aspect.